Hi, everybody. I'm here with Wendy Collier. And first of all, thank you so much for making time. I know you're busy for coming on to
Happy to be here. So happy to be here.
thank.
Thank you, Barbara.
So, what I would like to do is just read your bio so people can get a sense of who you are. And then we're going to just dive in and, talk like I always do. And let's see where it takes us. Wendy Collier is the founder of Soulful, guiding ambitious, purpose driven leaders to unlock their unique gifts, clarify their purpose, and grow thriving businesses aligned with their core values. With extensive experience in psychology, communication, leadership coaching, and marketing, Wendy empowers women to attract ideal clients and achieve financial success without sacrificing authenticity or succumbing to social media pressures. She hosts a popular five-star Soulful podcast and leads transformative coaching experiences, helping her clients confidently reach five, six, and multiple six-figure incomes. Wendy is an avid traveler, outdoor enthusiast, passionate about health, fitness, medical freedom, and has a long-standing volunteer career supporting and mentoring abused and forgotten children, including as a court-appointed special advocate. Whoa, Wendy. You do a
Yeah.
lot of things.
Yeah.
So you're a powerful woman. So thanks for being here. And tell us, what are you up to? I know you're up to your summit, Ticket to Freedom. I'm part of it. That's actually how we met. So why don't we start with that and share a little bit about why you're doing it and what are you hoping to accomplish?
Yeah. I mean, I can share a little bit about the inspiration behind Ticket to Freedom if you'd like.
Sure.
Yeah. So I started my career in the Silicon Valley working for high tech, some of the biggest companies in the world. And I learned a lot. I grew up professionally inside those companies. I'm grateful for those experiences. And at the same time, I knew I was meant for something more. And I knew was meant to make a difference in people's lives rather than selling like hardware and software products. I was in senior marketing management positions, so it was marketing those products. And I
Wow.
always had it in my heart to make a difference, based on, so much of my life experience and the wisdom that came from that and what I could offer people individually. And so I started to explore coaching. And when I realized I wanted to have my own business as a coach, I needed a path, like a way to get out and transition from that employee corporate lifestyle into entrepreneurial, making money, quote, on my own and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. And I couldn't find that path. And I needed that quote, ticket to freedom, right? I saw it as I was really being held back. I was leaving my heart at the door, basically at the job, wasn't able to be fully expressed and to do what I
Wow.
was meant to do. And so this idea of getting a ticket to freedom, someone showing you the path, whether it's from a job or a business that isn't feeling totally aligned, a business that maybe you're not feeling is quite who you are. There's many ways in which we need our own ticket to freedom, right? Whether that's pivoting a business, switching up a niche, scaling to the next level, to that next level of freedom, or leaving a job, whatever it is. And so I loved the idea of bringing together people like you, speakers, experts from all over the world, and have, a gang of people, like the best, cheerleading team you could possibly have, to help our audience to find their own ticket to freedom. And so that's when I started that experience in this event, which, is basically a masterclass series interviewing people like you. And this time we have 32 of those
Crazy.
mini like training sessions. Yeah, all different subjects about the inner game of business, the outer game of business. What I love about it, and this is a 12th season of Ticket to Freedom, by the way. So we've done this 12 times. And every time, we have these incredible, really valuable free gifts given with each session. So people can actually get traction and momentum and take action in their business while they're going through the Ticket to Freedom experience, which lasts about 2 weeks. So, and it's completely free, which is amazing.
Let's take a quick break. I want to remind you that if you're interested in learning more about neuro emotional coaching or kinesiology, if you would like to have a taste, find out what it could do for you or your business, your family, please look at the show notes. There's a link for a 30-minute free introductory meeting, and we can explore it. You can look at what is holding you back? What are your dreams? What is it that you always wanted to achieve? Don't be shy, sign up. Now, let's get back to the show. Yeah, it's awesome because I remember last year I actually you know, even though I was a speaker, a presenter, I did listen to a bunch of them.
Oh, good.
And
Yeah.
I mean, listen, there's always something new for us to learn.
Yeah.
And I availed myself of some of the gifts because I'm like, hey, why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
as a coach, I want to get the coaching. I think it
Yep.
doesn't matter, where you are in your life. There's always something to learn. There's always something to
Yeah.
polish. It doesn't mean there's something wrong. And I want to do and what I tell people to do because I think it's authentic.
Yeah.
So, and I learned new things. I met new people, and it was great. So,
Awesome. Yeah, I do the same thing. I pick up my speakers free gifts all the time. I'm like,
yeah,
this is
why
great.
not?
I could
It's
use
like,
this. Yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
it's a way that we can support one another, and then we're in better service to the people
Yeah.
that we're serving. So
Yeah. And I know, you've got yours coming up soon. And I just deeply cherish, our conversations because of the realness and the authenticity that you offer. So that's what we're going to give today here too.
and I appreciate that. Yeah, it's like I mean, I guess we were just talking a little bit before we came on. For those of you who don't know, I live in Israel, and it's been 18, 19 months since we've since the war started. And I've realized so many things. It's like not that there weren't any wars going on earlier, like 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Always wars were going on. It's just like didn't impact me because I wasn't living in a war zone, and how it has changed me. And it brings a new authenticity for me because it's like, okay, enough of the bullshit. It's
Yeah.
like let's get real and what is really going on. And people are more thriving and more surviving sometimes, I think, right now than they're thriving. And how can we get them? How can we support them to be in the thriving zone?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And you're a perfect example of what that takes because, obviously
Thanks.
if you can be in your situation and still be showing up and smiling and staying devoted to your work and still giving to your audience and communities, I mean, that says a lot about who you are and your character.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, I mean, it's intense what you've gone through and what you are going through. And it just says a lot about how you embody your work. And it's not to say it's easy. It's not to say it's perfect all the time, but you're obviously able to apply principles and tools that you teach that allow you to be in this situation and be okay. And if you can, someone else, us regular people that are not in war zones, certainly we can overcome our challenges, right? If you can in that situation.
It's true, and I don't want to, take away from what people are going through because, it doesn't matter whether you're living in the war zone or not. You can be in a domestic violence situation, or or all kinds of things, and so regardless of where you find yourself, and what I want to talk about today actually is as we're diving into this is to set a clear message that it's okay to be in the hole sometimes. It's okay to, to feel like I can't do it right now. And that it's not just always about how do I swim on top, or how do I, how do I surf? Because there's like, there's that period of where, and even in nature, we go into darkness, we go into the cave and we gather our energy, and then we come out and then we shine brighter. What is that? What are we learning? And how can we support ourselves while we're in that state of, oh my God, I don't know if I can take it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us about a time, Wendy, when you were in that, if you would be so kind, when you felt like, oh my God, it's like, I'm in a tough spot. You're not so sure. Am I going to make it out? How am I going to make it out? Am I going to be all in one piece?
Gosh,
What do you want to share with us?
Times I've been in that position. I've been in that position personally and professionally, and so many different, so many times. Would you like me to focus on personal, professional?
Whatever you want to talk about.
Yeah. So you're speaking to like maybe not a rock bottom, it could be, but like a time when you really didn't know if you were going to get out of the situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the most poignant for me actually is personal, but it connects to my work and the birth of Soul Fuel.
Okay.
And it's ironic that you mentioned domestic violence because that was my situation. I actually
Wow.
was, and this was a long time ago. I have a
Okay.
lot of distance from it now. When I was engaged to a man, and we had moved about 350 miles, bought a house. We were starting our lives together 8 weeks from the wedding when he suddenly came at me physically, and he had never done that before. And
Wow.
it was this wake up call, right, that I had in the moment. And up until that point, I was so excited about getting married, and everything looked perfect. And we had the wedding planned. I had my dress. We had the church and the reception hall, and the house was bought, and it was all in place when this happened. And it was a deal breaker for me. Obviously, I wasn't going to continue in that relationship after that happened. And so I had to unwind that situation. And I had already moved myself 350 miles away from all my friends, my network, any job opportunities, things like that. We had both quit our jobs because we were starting a real estate investing business. So we had some intertwinings financially, business wise, as well as personally. I genuinely didn't know how I was going to unwind that situation. Now, fortunately, I didn't marry him, so it was
Really?
easier, to get out.
Really?
But he had proven himself to be unsafe, right? And I couldn't trust what he would do. So I had to be very careful about how I exited the relationship safely.
Oh,
And then I
wow.
had to move back 350 miles away to reestablish myself and to reclaim my power, like get it all back, right? And then build my life from zero again, because we both left the area and left our, existing network. I had family where we moved, but it was very minimal. And we were starting our lives together. So I had to rewind that very quickly. And it was a shock. Like, I did not know that was coming. Like I said, I was only 8 weeks from the wedding. And the reason I say it's connected to what I do now is in that moment, actually had me like slammed up against a wall, and he had, used his force, and there were other things going on. It wasn't pretty. It was not fun. And I know there's worse situations. That was just like the first and the only time I allowed that to happen. Didn't allow it. I didn't have a choice in that moment. But I did realize, gosh, how did I get here? I didn't blame him. I'm the common denominator in my life. I attract or repel whatever I do, and I hold myself personally responsible for all the decisions I make. So obviously he was not healthy, right? Mentally, or to do that, to the woman he loves, he adored, and supposedly, and we were getting married. But what I realized is I hadn't been listening to my intuition every step of the way. I wasn't trusting my own judgment, and I wasn't fully empowered to the point that I thought I was. I've always been a very smart, independent woman, career oriented, supporting myself financially. I thought I was this empowered woman, and smart, right? And I found myself in this. It has nothing to do with your intelligence when you find yourself in a situation like that, by the
Nope.
way. Um,
None.
so that was
Nothing.
yeah, nothing to do with your intelligence. So that's the birth of what I call soul fuel. Soul fuel is your divine calling, your purpose in life. And what that did was it woke me up to the real purpose behind the work that I do today, which is helping women and men, some conscious men, but it's primarily women, just facilitating their awakening, their healing, and their empowerment. And I happen to do it through helping them build their businesses, right? So it's like, I'm facilitating the awakening, healing, empowerment of women, carefully disguised as a business coach is kind of how I put it, and marketing coach, right? Carefully disguised. But that's what we're doing. Like,
Yeah.
you're
I'm so with you.
money. Yeah, you're going to make more money. You're going to attract more clients. But by the way, this personal transformation is going to happen. That's going to completely change your life. So it all started in that moment with him up against the wall, when I just woke up to kind of a lifetime of ignoring my own intuition, not trusting my judgment, deferring out to other people's advice, other people's judgment about my life, when I was the person living it and behind closed doors, and I was the one that knew everything and they didn't know everything. I was in my body has wisdom. So I don't outsource my judgment and intuition anymore. That's not happening. So I would say that was a big one. I had to go from having no money, no job, no source of financial anything, to going back to where I lived, finding a place to live, finding work, and getting myself back on my feet. And it did take a few months, but it was a very low point for me. But I did successfully crawl out of that hole and rebuild my life. And it's been growing and growing and thriving ever since. Yeah.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you for being so vulnerable and telling that story, because I think it's important to hear, because, people look at you and they say, wow, she's gotten her shit together. She has it all figured out. And, oftentimes there's some story, what was the catalyst to actually, moving somebody like yourself forward. And, because you didn't have any other choice. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
either I'm going to like go this way, which is going to make it worse. And good for you for actually, making a decision that you weren't going to go through with the wedding, because we know many, many, many times that decision is not made, or it can't be made, or the people, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So awesome. So awesome. And it's also really brave of you that you say, really what's going on is like, there's a healing process. We're just calling it business coaching, because, asking people to raise their fees, or asking people to, go for their ideal client, or figuring out what their values are, all that kind of stuff. It's just like really triggers, and I should include myself in that, it triggers us very, very deeply, because it triggers that unworthiness and the question of like, who are we and what do we want to do? So, and when we answer, or we find the answers to that, it's a healing process. So it's great that it is actually great that you just say that.
Yeah, it is a healing process.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
I know you can be talking about sales and pricing and offers, and you may not realize necessarily there's some deep worthiness issues being healed, or, that's what it's really all about. Totally. It's really interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at how easy it is usually for guys to ask for what they want, and and it's easy. And then if you ask the women, it's like, even though I think we've come a long way.
Yeah, we have.
It's still not. It's not. It's, look at the size of the business that that are led by male CEOs, or were started by male CEOs, and women. Still, we are way, way far away from
True.
Being a par with them.
Yeah, that's true.
Something we can learn.
Yeah.
So that was a life-changing event.
Totally life-changing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how long ago it was. It doesn't even matter. So fast forward.
It was actually 20 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
A long time.
So it's a long time. So here we're in 2025. What do you do to inspire yourself, sort of like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis? What do you do?
Wow. Well, that's like hourly almost. But I think the key part of my life is knowing my soul field, knowing what I'm here to do, and making sure I unlock that every day with courage, with bravery. So knowing what that is, and also making sure I'm in line to that every step of my day, is something that's really important to me. So it's not allowing the fears, doubts, concerns, and worries to take the wheel of my life or my business, but letting soul fuel drive that car, and let me drive that car. So I definitely have deepened into self-trust. That is very key. And if, the rituals I have, if that's what are you speaking more to rituals, or are you kind of?
Either. I mean, I think it would be great if you could share a ritual or two.
Oh gosh. Well, meditation with yoga for me is a big one. There's a process called flow dreaming that I use, which is created by Summer McStravick. So any type of guided visualization, meditation, or flow dream, I often do that at the start of a yoga session at home in the morning, or at the end of the yoga session, or during yoga. So moving my body while doing that has made an enormous difference in my life. That's huge. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Because it's tuning in, right? It's drowning out the noise and the distractions, and just going inward. You tap into a different power source than when you allow your 3D reality around you to kind of distract you, or make you believe that there are things. It's kind of tuning into truth rather than the illusions around us, is how I look at it.
Yoga, meditation.
I used to be a huge journaler. I haven't honestly journaled in a while, but that was a part of my life for decades. I needed that practice. And I started as a little girl at age 7 journaling, and I just kept it up for a very long time. I haven't journaled in a really long time, but I know that's a powerful process for a lot of people. It's not to say I never do, it's just sporadic. It's not consistent, but I do think that's a good tool for a lot of people. It was for me. It created a lot of change for me. Yeah.
One of the things, as you're speaking, I've been, especially lately, recommitting myself to is meditation. And I do a certain, also very specific kind of meditation and I feel like now I'm craving it. I need that.
Yeah.
That space, the time in the moment where, I can just go wherever I want to go. And I have a certain process of where I'm, projecting myself sort of out of my consciousness into a different realm. And it really helps me to put things in perspective because, turn the news on or whatever. And, you're bombarded with that reality. And I want to kind of, drive my reality because it's all made up anyway. And,
right.
I guess we make it up, or our response to it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's awesome that you have that.
Yeah. And I think I haven't owned a television for 13 years. I don't watch the news. Somehow without watching the news, I still know what's going on. Because you can't avoid it, So this whole idea that, I want to know what's going on, you don't need to worry about that because even without, I tune it all out and I still know what's going on. So it's impossible to avoid. But I consciously educate myself on topics as opposed to being the passive, person of things being pushed to you. I choose what I want to go dive into and research and understand better in a very conscious way. So that I think has a huge impact on my ability to stay focused and to be the light in the darkness and not get caught up in the dark because there's so much of that going on. But there's also more light than darkness on the planet, and the news focuses on all the dark. And so if you're just to watch the news or just you read the headlines, you're going to think like you're going to be depressed. But that's a small fraction of what's going on the planet in any given day. There are more good things happening than bad things as a whole, overall on the planet. Again, you wouldn't know that if you just watch the news. So I think I'm glad you brought that up because that's important.
No, it's very important. I mean, I knew I liked you from the beginning. I don't have a TV either.
Oh, nice.
No TV. My little kids don't ever ask if they can watch TV because there's no TV. And it's good that you say that because, here I live in Israel and there's definitely the things are, I don't like judgment, but I'm just going to say it's not good. Not good is not even the word. It's really horrible what's going on here. And of course, when we look at the planet as a whole, it's interesting that you say that, there's more good things going on the planet, even when I looked or I hear about the left and the right and all those things that are going on. It's like, oh, okay. Is that so? And then what am I telling what's my reality? And then how am I looking at what's my belief system? So I happen to believe in past lives. So, some people are going to say, oh, I don't believe in that. So what am I doing now that's going to impact my future existence? So, and even if that's made up, it still it helps me a great deal to respond differently because then it's not finite. It's not like, I don't think I have this life and then it's over.
Yeah.
So it's good to know. We need to keep that in perspective of what we feed ourselves with, who we talk to. Sometimes, I don't know if you do this. Sometimes I am hearing a song on the radio and it's so negative. It's all about, this sort of like victim, we think it's cool, but it's all about victimhood. And I'm like, I turn it off. And I'm like, I don't want to, impregnate myself with that kind of energy.
Right. Yeah. You have to be very mindful of what you're taking in and allowing to come in. Yeah. It's everything.
So do you find that as you are trusting your intuition more and you're moving your consciousness, forward, evolving it, that there's less of the fear and the depression and the anxiety, like all that kind of stuff that we, we deal with?
Yes. I have experienced, like I shared that experience with my ex-fiance. I mean, I have experienced the lowest of lows. That was definitely the lowest point of my whole life, but I've been in other very low points. So I understand what that feels like. But as I've grown and shifted in my life, and deepened in self-trust, trust my intuition, tune out the distractions, tune out the negativity. Yeah, it just gets better and better and better.
And so the dips are, I would say when we do the work, the dips that we experience are less
Yeah.
and faster,
Right.
and our ability to sustain positivity
Mm-hmm.
becomes longer and,
Yeah.
maybe more intensely if we actually, do what we
Mm-hmm.
think works.
Yeah. I mean, I think as leaders, conscious leaders, light workers, however you consider yourself, as a guide, a healer, we need to walk our talk, and we need to be that light in the darkness, the beacon of hope, lighthouse. You can think of yourself as a lighthouse. Like, if we weigh ourselves down with the troubles of the world, we're not able to offer a solution or be the antidote to those things for people. So I take it very seriously that my own inner world needs to be clear. My energy needs to be clear. My inner world needs to be calm in order for me to be that trusted, person that someone can come to receive these things, and learn, and to help them to deepen in their own self-trust, their own intuition, and to know what I call your soul fuel, to know your soul fuel, to unlock that, unleash it in your life and in your business. I know that's what I'm here to do. So it's easy for me to stay focused on that. Yeah.
Would you be willing to share, maybe in one or two words, what you think your soul fuel is?
Well, it is to facilitate the awakening, healing, and empowerment of humanity. That's it. That's the shortest version. I have a long version, and that's the short and sweet one.
Well, that's good though. I think we want to know what that is, and so that we can be connected to it,
Yeah.
at any moment.
Yeah, and when I
Awesome.
speak about awakening, it's awakening from the illusions, as well as kind of the program that's running on the planet, and all the influences that are going on all the time, that are propagated through news channels and things like that. There's a lot of fear that is happening. So the awakening piece is helping people to break free from that system, basically, that program, that conditioning, so that you can remember who you are, reconnect to your power and the source that you believe is the source of who created you, or the source of all things, however you want to look at that. Just reconnect to that, which is much more powerful than whatever is going on here on planet Earth.
Totally. And if I can say one thing, I had this really deep conversation with somebody recently. It's like to realize that we're all one. We're all part of that.
Yes, right.
We are all, and for
Yeah.
us to destroy ourselves or each other, it's just like, that's just
You're
so
destroying yourself. Yeah, I know.
because we are part of the same source. We
Right.
are that source, collectively.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter, what color you are, what religion you are, or any of that, race, creed,
Right.
circumstance, preference, sexual,
Yes.
any of that. So
No, we are literally one. And I think all of us know that when we really tune in. We know that deep down. We've been told the lie that we're separate, this, us versus them, this group, that group. Let's get people fighting and opposing each other. There's a reason it's set up that way. United, we're much more powerful than divided. And yeah. So I'm with you, Barbara, and we're totally connected, and we're more
totally
similar than we are.
connected. And I yesterday, somebody asked me to go to an Arab town that's next to me to pick up something for them because they don't want to go there. And part of me was like, it's like that pain and suffering about the reality of the situation. You live 5 miles from this place, and I deem it to be perfectly okay to go there to pick up something, and you can't go there for whatever reason. And bring compassion to where people are, and not move in the right wrong judgment kind of thing, and so that we can actually assist them to elevate faster. But sure, it's difficult.
Yeah, and helping people reclaim their personal power, right? So in that
Yeah.
situation, that person's not, and I can understand that. Like they don't
Fear.
feel they have power over that situation, they feel out of control, right?
Totally.
And that's the lie that's easy to believe that's not true, which is you don't hold power. You hold power in every single situation you're in. Even if you're
Right.
in
But
prison,
of
wrongfully in
course.
prison, you hold power. Like there's always, no one can control your thoughts. I mean, I suppose there's ways they can, but you know, you can't control your soul, that's for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So it's
it's important to
crazy.
reclaim and recognize your own power. Yeah, in any
It's hard
situation.
because there's a lot of propaganda out there, as we know.
Yes.
So, anything you want to leave us with before we close out this evening?
Yeah, I think it's that piece. I think it's no coincidence you brought that up, Barbara. I mean, just the idea that, remembering who you are and remembering that you are more powerful than you think, and to not buy into the narrative or the lies that say you are powerless or you don't have a choice, or, that's anything that doesn't feel good, light, isn't true. I mean, the true things feel good. They feel better than the negative, the lies. So you can kind of you can differentiate that just in that simple way of, if it doesn't feel good, if it feels dark, if it feels heavy, it's not true.
Or
Versus if it,
question, or at least question it. Start to
at
question
least
it.
question it. Yeah, exactly.
Question it.
Yeah.
If somebody's telling you, hey, everybody hates all the Jews, or everybody hates all the this, or they hate all the gay, at least start to question, is that really everybody?
Yes.
Is that really true?
Yeah. Yeah, get curious. That's my biggest thing with my clients. I tell them, when in doubt, get curious, start asking questions, just learn more, be open-minded, be open-hearted, just open yourself up to greater possibilities. And again, hold yourself as powerful and hold other people as powerful, because we are far more powerful and resourceful and creative than people have been taught or, convinced to believe.
Namaste, sister.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
All the things that you're sharing today, and many
My
blessings to you.
pleasure. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Wonderful to be with you.
Take care. And here are the takeaways from my podcast with Wendy Collier. Number 1, create a daily practice to turn inward. Even 5 minutes of meditation, breath work, or yoga can help you reconnect with your inner wisdom and drown out external noise. Number 2, be intentional with what you consume. News, social media, and daily conversations can shape your mindset. Choose information that uplifts, informs, and empowers you. Number 3, deepen self-trust by honoring your intuition. Pay attention to your gut feelings and make choices that reflect your core values, not fear or outside pressures. Number 4, question limiting or fear-based narratives. When something makes you feel small, afraid, or hopeless, pause and ask, is it really true? Often it's not. 5, reclaim your personal power. No matter your circumstances, you always have choices. Owning that truth can be liberating, even in tough moments. Number 6, stay curious. When confronted with discomfort, bias, or limiting beliefs, your own or others, get curious, ask questions. Be open to seeing things differently. Number 7, find your soul fuel. Identify the deeper why that drives you, your soul fuel. Write it down in one sentence and revisit it often to stay grounded in your purpose. Thank you so much for listening. Until the next time, take care.